Brian Kelly. Oh, you still love to coach football in the South with that fake Southern accent you got? Anyways, though, this is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Brian Kelly losing another game for LSU as they lost to Ole Miss by the score of 55-49. With LSU already at 2 losses this season, it seems as if their hopes for the college football playoff have essentially become dead. Brian Kelly is one of the highest paid coaches in college football, despite never having won a national championship. Before I say anything else, though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So, here it is. Has Brian Kelly become an overrated coach in college football? Absolutely. Yes, there was a period of time where Brian Kelly was once considered to be a really good coach in college football. There was a period of time where Brian Kelly was on the level where you could say, wow, he is one of the best coaches in college football. But he is no longer on that level. However, the contract that he is receiving for LSU doesn't necessarily reflect that. When you look at salaries for the 2023 collegiate season, Brian Kelly is the 5th highest paid coach in college football. But I guarantee you guys that nobody is saying that Brian Kelly is coaching as if he's a top 5 coach in college football. He's not even necessarily bringing in the hype for LSU either, because LSU football is supposed to be a program where they're going to be getting a lot of hype year in and year out. But Brian Kelly has made LSU football almost unwatchable. Nobody likes an asshole, and Brian Kelly is the definition of an asshole. And people can handle assholes when you win, but when you don't win, that's when people are going to get on you a lot. And that's exactly what Brian Kelly has done. You look at the 2 losses that Brian Kelly has had this year for LSU. They got blown out to Florida State on opening night. That can't happen if you're getting paid that much money. You're getting paid $9.7 million a year. You can't be getting paid that much money to go lose to Florida State. I understand Florida State's really good this year, but if you're that guy and if you're that good of a coach, you got to be able to make it somewhat of a game if you're going to lose to Florida State. Preferably, you got to go ahead and win that game considering all the talent that you got on your roster. Other than to lose to Ole Miss the way that you did, that is absolutely unacceptable. For them to be leading the way that they were leading and for them to blow that lead in the 4th quarter, that can't happen under his watch. Brian Kelly is supposed to be known as a disciplinarian, but if he was truly a good disciplinarian, his teams would not have blown the lead in the 4th quarter against Ole Miss. Now at 2 losses, it seems as if the college football playoff hopes for LSU have essentially became dead to see happening because of the fact that no 2-loss team is going to make it to the college football playoff, particularly in the SEC, and the fact that LSU has yet to even play Alabama. You look at their schedule right now, they still got to play Missouri, they still got to play Alabama. I mean, look, their schedule isn't that hard, but the opponents that aren't necessarily cupcake games, those are against ranked opponents, and with the way that LSU is looking, they're not looking too good this year. LSU was supposed to be a team that could win at least 11 games heading into this year, but they have not shown that capability at all, even though they have an elite quarterback in Jayden Daniels. Brian Kelly is wasting the talent that he has on his roster. Brian Kelly has actually done a decent job recruiting at LSU, believe it or not, even though he has faked a Southern accent, and he's talking about family. Yeah, down in the South. I mean, this is how Brian Kelly talks. And Brian Kelly, this is why I don't like him right here, because he's not authentic. He doesn't keep it real with his players. He believes that he is the one that is the greatest coach to ever do things, and that when he wins, it's all about him, and when he loses, it's all about the players and everything that goes on around him. Brian Kelly never takes responsibility for losses while he steals all the credit for wins. That is not the sign of a good leader. Brian Kelly is an egotistical man that is an underachiever year in and year out. Look, Brian Kelly, I understand that his win-loss record is really good. I understand that he did do some things at Notre Dame, but for the ego that Brian Kelly brings in, it ain't worth it. Now, if Nick Saban was an egotistical man, and if he was acting like a jackass all the time, okay, that'd be one thing. Nick Saban is a multiple-time national champion. He is one of the greatest college football coaches to ever do it. If Kirby Smart was acting like a jackass, okay, that's fine. Kirby Smart has won 2 national championships in a row. He's probably going to win his 3rd national championship in a row, and even if he doesn't, he's known as one of the best coaches in all of college football. Brian Kelly, on the other hand, doesn't get that benefit of the doubt. Brian Kelly is a guy that is living off of his past resume. Brian Kelly has not been a great coach in recent memory. He never even was that great to begin with, but especially now, he is definitely living off of his reputation. You look at the talent that LSU has, you look at the roster that they have compared to other teams in college football, and you're thinking, how is this LSU team already at 2 losses? They got one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Jayden Daniels. He's had a fantastic fantastic year for LSU. Okay, he's only thrown 2 interceptions the entire year. He's completed 73% of his passes. He's already thrown for 16 touchdowns. I mean, he is making plays happen with the football in his hands. He's been a dynamic runner as well. He has contributed 19 total touchdowns, both passing and rushing. So this guy has been really good for them. Logan Diggs has been really good at the running back position as well. He's getting over 6 yards to carry, and they got receivers that are playing really well for them because they got Malik Neighbors. He's really good. They got Brian Thomas Jr., really good receiver as well. And you look at all the talent that LSU has, and you're thinking, how is this team only 3-2? How has this team already lost 2 games when many people picked them to make the college football playoff? Now, me personally, I never thought that LSU was going to make the college football playoff because I had Georgia, I had Michigan, I had Ohio State, and I had Texas making the college football playoff before the season started. So I was out on LSU. But with the 2 losses that LSU has had, I'm pretty sure that nobody at this point believes that they are going to be a college football playoff team this year. And to see Brian Kelly regress from year 1 to year 2 at LSU, that is not good progress that Brian Kelly has made at all whatsoever. I understand that he coaches in the SEC, but you look at the SEC this year, it's extremely weak compared to other years. And the fact that Brian Kelly failed to take advantage of that, that is an indictment on him. I'm looking at the fact that how LSU, yes, they're going to still win some of those cupcake games that they got left on the schedule. Their schedule isn't particularly hard outside of Missouri and Alabama, but let's be honest, do we really think that they're going to go ahead and beat Alabama? Because of the fact that LSU had already beaten Alabama last year, so we know that Alabama is not going to overlook that game. Alabama is going to go ahead and kill LSU if they have every opportunity to go ahead and do so. They look like they're getting better each and every week. It seems like they finally resolved the situation at quarterback. Now Alabama looks like a team that they could potentially contend for the college football playoff. I still don't think they're going to get in though, because they're not going to beat Georgia in the SEC title game. But if they do, then they got a real good shot of making it to the college football playoff. When you look at this Alabama team, you're thinking right now, okay, they're the best team in the SEC right now. Even when Bama is on a down year, it seems like they got the ship turned around, especially with the other teams that are struggling in the SEC. You look at how Tennessee, they've already lost a game. You look at LSU, they've already lost 2 games. And even though Bama has already lost 1 game, hey, that one loss was an out-of-conference game, so no harm done in terms of in-conference games. When you look at this Alabama team, they're really good, and they still look like they're ahead of LSU. My issue with Brian Kelly is that he seems to not be performing at the level that his salary is dictating what it says it should be. Now, if you guys remember what Brian Kelly was saying when he left Notre Dame, he basically said he only didn't win at Notre Dame because of the fact that they didn't care about winning. He said that if he went to LSU, he would win a national championship there. Well, that hasn't necessarily happened, and I don't have a lot of hope for Brian Kelly at this point in stage of his career because he's coached a long time in college football. At this point, if Brian Kelly hasn't won a national championship, then he's probably never going to win a national championship, especially at LSU. You look at how he's already struggling in a weak SEC conference. Imagine what's going to happen when Brian Kelly has to actually go up against stronger opponents in the SEC during better years. This dude is not going to be able to keep pace with him whatsoever. And right now, there's only 4 coaches that are getting paid more than Brian Kelly. Those guys are Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, Kirby Smart, and Lincoln Riley. What do those guys have in common? Well, for Nick Saban, okay, you see that he's getting paid $11.7 million a year. But honestly, we all know that Nick Saban deserves that title because of the greatness that Nick Saban provides year in and year out. We know that he is the greatest college football head coach of all time. So obviously, he's going to be the highest paid coach. I don't think anybody has a problem with that. Then you got Dabo Swinney. He's a national champion for Clemson. Yeah, they've had a few down years, but he's managed to keep them relevant in the ACC. For Clemson, that's really all they can ask for right now. Other than Kirby Smart, obviously, he's coming off of 2 national championships. So yes, it makes sense that he's getting paid more than Brian Kelly and that he is getting paid as if he's a top 3 coach in college football. That is absolutely correct. In fact, you could probably argue that Kirby Smart is the 2nd best coach in college football. And then there's Lincoln Riley. Yes, he hasn't won a national championship yet, but he has been great when it comes to developing young quarterbacks and being able to turn around programs. He's getting paid $10 million a year. When you look at these guys, 3 of the top 4 guys have been national champions, while the 4th guy, Lincoln Riley, has been a quarterback guru, as well as a guy that is really young. So that means he still has plenty of time to improve his coaching. Brian Kelly doesn't really fit into any of those status quos. He's not a quarterback whisperer. He hasn't won a national championship. He's already been an established guy. Look, what I'm saying about Brian Kelly is he's a good coach, but he's not a great coach. And for the money that he's getting paid, he is underperforming at LSU, and LSU didn't hire him just so he could become a good coach. LSU hired him so they could compete for national championships, and Brian Kelly has failed to do so. Ultimately, though, when you look at the schedule, I think LSU, they're going to end up winning at least 9 games with the remaining schedule that they do have left, because it's not like they have a lot of hard games left. The only hard games that they have left are on the road. It's against Missouri and Alabama. Worst case, though, LSU is going to end up being a 4-loss team, but I think that they will end up being a 3-loss team ultimately at the end of the day. I think that LSU, they're going to finish with a 9-3 record. They're going to be able to get into a bowl game. As far as whether they're going to get to the SEC championship game, I don't see that happening. I don't see them being able to get past Alabama as of right now. Now, obviously, that opinion can change as more time goes on, but from what I'm seeing right now, I don't believe that they're going to be able to get past Alabama. And I think that Brian Kelly, he's looking pretty desperate for LSU football to become national contenders. And the fact that it hasn't happened by year two, I think that's going to get some fans in the LSU community pretty triggered up. I think that's triggering Brian Kelly as well. Ultimately, it's going to come down to whether or not LSU can win the big games. And so far, Brian Kelly, it seems like he's not been able to do that, at least on a consistent basis. I understand that he beat Alabama last year, but that seems to be more of a mirage more than anything else. So that is why Brian Kelly has become very overrated in college football as a head coach. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @Dustin Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin Tran and @Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.